How can we stop the next pandemic? The COVID-19 pandemic came out unexpectedly, and it managed to change the way we live. However, this is a pandemic that we will eventually have under control. But we have to wonder, how can we possibly stop a new, upcoming pandemic that will bring in even more dangerous viruses? For now, we expect such a pandemic to hit once a century, considering that the Spanish flu took place at the beginning of the 20th century. There are more than 30,000 different coronaviruses you can find lurking out there, most of which didn't cross from animals to people. This process is called zoonosis, and it can be very dangerous, since the virus will mutate and it will end up leading to an even more dangerous pandemic. A good first step to stop a potential pandemic is to shut down the wet markets which exist in few countries, while also ensuring there are dedicated biocontainment procedures. Shutting down these markets is important because that's where most of the zoonosis cases are beginning. If we look at our history, aristocrats were always blaming people with low amounts of money for spreading the pandemic. What we can learn from this is that we should always share data and connect with one another. We live in this world together, and our scientists need to share data and information in order to come up with a solution very quickly. By shutting down those markets that sell high-risk wildlife for consumption, this can end up being a very good solution. We also need to replace that need with other sources of protein. Aside from that, governments also need to enforce laws related to the illegal trade of wildlife. Most of the time, these trades are the ones spreading animals with certain diseases, which end up bringing in bacteria and viruses to new locations. At the same time, people need to be educated about the dangers of consuming wildlife products. On top of that, the private sector and governments need to limit human encroachment into nature. Humans are constantly expanding their cities, and that makes animals lose most of their habitat, unfortunately. Due to that, animals end up changing their diet, and that can obviously lead to the creation of new viruses. Lastly, our society needs to invest more in medical equipment. The COVID-19 clearly showed we are not prepared for a large-scale pandemic, and that's why we need more hospitals and medical equipment that we can use to save lives. This won't prevent the pandemic per se, but it will make it easier to save lives and lower the number of casualties that can arise. It's important for us to understand that a new pandemic can appear at any given time. Hopefully, our society will use these tips and learn from the COVID-19 pandemic mistakes so we can finally stop any new pandemic coming towards us. Thanks for watching this video. Stay safe.